I couldn't handle his false reconciliation and ghosted. He started to shift responsibility and grew annoyed when I did not just forgive and forget what had happened. It seemed as if he had said everything appropriate, shed crocodile tears, and begged for forgiveness on his knees. To be fair, he has made some contributions to the overall endeavor. He would email me images of his location on a regular basis and would contact me at various times during the night. He'd spend more time with me, just sitting there with me and listening to my sobbing. However, if I was having a terrible day or questioned him, he would stonewall and get irritated with me, and I would have to leave. Slowly but steadily, the red flags that he had showed when he was first cheating on me began to re-emerge. Passwords were always changing, and his phone would mysteriously dead whenever he left the house, despite the fact that he never left his phone anywhere. My heart started to sink as I became certain that he was cheating once again. He'd explain himself and promise that he'd never do anything to hurt me again. I was in denial, and I had multiple conversations with him about the need of respecting my boundaries. Notifying me of his excursions, who he is with, and keeping in touch with me throughout the night are all things I like. It's really rather straightforward. When he left the house again on Friday night, he turned off his phone, and all of my calls went to voicemail till the next day, which was frustrating. I had a complete mental breakdown and realized I couldn't continue in this manner. I was a scared wreck who couldn't stop ringing and texting him throughout the night. It was that night when I wept myself to sleep. In order to sleep better, he turned off his phone during the night. The only things he was able to access were the numbers on his phone and his social media profiles, as well as his friends and family members. In addition, I enlisted the assistance of my family to put a stop to him. As soon as he realized he'd been banned, he began contacting me from a variety of phone lines and ultimately showed up at my house the next day. I remained deafeningly silent, unwilling to say anything or react in any way. He left voicemails informing me that his phone had just died and that he was putting out considerable effort to regain my confidence in him. He was sobbing and pleading with me to let him pass past the fence, and I agreed. Yes, you read that correctly, you are correct. In our 3 to 4 times per week meetings, my husband's phone is normally always fully charged, but he often goes out with friends, and when he does, his phone is always dead between the hours of 9 and 9 o'clock the following morning. Really? He must suppose that I am completely illiterate. However, despite my several pleas, I discovered that he couldn't give a about keeping his phone charged. In lieu of that, he just turns off the television, most likely to watch his prostitutes and Tinder dates while I'm at home attempting to maintain my mental health. My intestines are tangled up in a ball. It's true that I loved him, and I'm saddened, unhappy, and terrible that our relationship had to come to an end because of this fact. I cherished this man and did everything in my power to ensure that he was content. In addition to preparing exquisite meals for him and dressing suitably for the occasion, I participated in continual intercourse with him, gave him back massages on a weekly basis, gave him little presents, and was always available to him. I'm considered to be conventionally attractive as well as physically fit and in excellent physical condition. I'm about through with my bachelor's degree in business administration. Simply put, I'm extremely dissatisfied. In fact, I admired him, or at the very least the person I assumed he was when I first met him. I found out about his secret life just before we were ready to sign a lease together, thank heavens for that. It kills me to be the one who has abandoned him, but I can't take any more of his stupid attempts at reconciliation from now on. Story 2. Wife of 5 years cheated and now I feel absolutely nothing for her. Nothing. And that scares me, with updates. No idea why my last post was automatically deleted, but given how many new messages are arriving in my inbox, I'll attempt to repost. Here are the essential elements to remember. Wendy, my wife, 34, and I, 32, met via mutual acquaintances 7 years ago, dated for 2 years, and have been married for 5 years, just after I finished law school. Working as an associate at my company for the first 2 years of our marriage required me to put in 60 hours each week. That dedication has paid off, and I am achieving success in my professional life. Wendy was employed as a teacher at a private school before we were married, but she left to pursue her master's degree in education. She is currently enrolled in an educational doctoral program while also working part-time as a teacher. Due to my desire to pay off my college loans as quickly as possible, this was something of a financial strain, but we managed to make it work. When my wife and I first started dating, she was working on an old laptop. It was hidden in a box in a closet, which I only located after digging around. She said that the computer had crashed and was no longer functional. I connected it to my computer and tried to turn it on. Nothing. When Wendy and I first met, she snapped photos of everything, particularly selfies of herself with other people. I took the hard drive out of the computer and searched through it, knowing she had some photos of the two of us from that time period. It seemed to be in order. The problem must be located somewhere else. Before inserting it into a SATA connection link to my PC, I had to wait till she had left for her sister's house since I wanted to surprise her with pictures from when we first started dating each other. The place was littered with photos. A number of photos are included. Some of the photographs showed us on dates, laughing and smiling. I was flooded with wonderful recollections as a result of their presence. There were, however, other images of her with other people in the collection. I have a specific memory of a certain person. Bob was his given name, and Wendy had been dating him prior to my meeting him. There were a number of photographs of her and Bob in the album. Considering I just intended to capture shots of the two of us, I decided on the simplest approach, categorize them by date, presuming that the most current images would be of just us. I discovered, however, that when I sorted them by date, numerous of her images with Bob were grouped together with photos of the two of us. I began looking through the photos one by one and noticed that she was wearing a necklace/locket that I had given her for her birthday the second year we had been dating, which I had purchased for her the previous year when they were embracing and kissing. It was only possible because I borrowed money from my brother. Upon closer inspection of the photographs, I saw a pattern. On days and weekends when school required my full focus, when she went to her mother's house or went to her sister's place to provide me with peace and quiet, she was meeting up with Bob behind my back. I was outraged at the time. It seemed as if fire ants were nibbling on my brain, heart, and intestines at the same time as I was walking. I was on the verge of breaking through the walls when something went wrong and I became numb. I began to perceive and think in a very cold, analytical manner, which I continued to do. I put all of her images, not just the ones I'd seen, on a flash drive and took them with me. I packed my luggage, bought some suits, and traveled across town to my brother's house to stay for a few days. With a snapshot of her kissing Bob displayed on the computer monitor, I left her laptop hard drive connected to my computer. The only thing I left behind was a sticky note with an arrow pointing to the necklace/locket I had given them as a gift. Wendy phoned me from her mother's house. I assumed that's where she was, but I didn't pick up the phone to answer. However, it wasn't until a few hours later, when she was most likely back in our apartment and saw the picture on the television, that she began to flood my phone with voicemails and text messages. I didn't give a about any of them. Separation and divorce are topics that I've already covered with another colleague in the family law section. The majority of our money was spent on repaying my student loans and paying for her college education, so we don't have any children or property to speak of. My firm has encircled me with wagons, so all of her phone calls are routed via me. She is not authorized to be on the premises. Security already turned her away. Fortunately, Wendy tracked me down at my brother's house, but he warned her over the phone that if she showed there, he'd unleash his Dobermans on her. He said she was crying, sobbing, and begging on the other end of the line. It didn't make me feel either sad or happy in any way. I didn't have any sensations. My marriage has come to an end. That's something I've come to terms with. Nonetheless, it's been 2 days and I'm still not feeling well. There is no feeling of discomfort. There is no outburst of wrath. Nothing. Can it really be true that I have no longer felt any feeling towards her, that I have no one to see her again, and that I have no desire to reconcile with her? It scares me to think that I'm feeling nothing for her now that I'm alone with my thoughts. Is this something that will stand the test of time? Is it conceivable that I'm still reeling from the experience? Is it possible that I'll be broken for the rest of my life? On the bright side, I've never seen responses that were so clear in any of my circumstances.